Good afternoon, sir. Have you any falafel?
My God! It's Muammar Gaddafi!
Parched. Yeah, you need a beer, huh?
I could use a beer.
A Moosehead.
The song still remains the same. The plot itself has hardly changed. The guaranteed bet for fortune and fame.
Welcome to The Good, the Bad, and the Sequel. This is the movie podcast where we're talking sequels, and we do it in two parts. The first, an interview with an actor or someone involved that made the film worth watching, and the second, a discussion of the sequel, what they got right, what they got wrong, and how it could have been better. Really hope you enjoyed last week's interview with cinematographer and camera operator Steven Andrick. We talked about his hand in this week's sequel, The Return of the Killer Tomatoes, where he talked about how he was 23 and he was an editor. He gets credited as editor in this movie, camera operator, cinematographer, but what he's most known for is working for NFL Films, shooting over 32 Super Bowls, and then also doing some amazing football shots in movies like The Longest Yard, Jerry Maguire, and more. If you haven't listened to that, go back and check that interview out. That was such a blast. And I'm super excited because I think this was maybe if me and Jamie wrote down when we started this podcast, some of those white whales. I think this might have been one of them, but I'll let him tell you for himself. I got to introduce you to my partner in the sequel watching journey, Jamie Riccardi. Jamie, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic, Doug. How are you doing?
Don't call the cops, man. I got a tomato.
Oh, man.
Don't call the cops.
Don't freak me out now. I agree with you. I think this is a white whale. You're going to be, maybe you're not going to be surprised, but I love this movie.
Oh my God. I loved it. I loved everything about this movie.
And I think what it is, and again, it's extremely campy, it's silly. But we've reviewed movies that were campy and silly, but they weren't funny. I feel like this movie has a lot of airplane type jokes.
Oh, great jokes.
And very clever jokes. And so I think that's where it is. So as campy as it is, they had clever jokes in there where we've reviewed movies that were just so bad that even if they tried, it wasn't funny to me. So I think this one,
there's that fine line of trying to be a bad movie.
Correct.
And then it doesn't land right. Well, that's what works. So Troll 2 isn't the greatest movie, but you had all these people trying at something that was so silly, which made it watchable. And even Samurai Cop 2, it tried to recapture that gold of the first movie of being so campy, and it kind of did. But what this movie does, I don't know, just there's good acting in it, and there's really, like you said, really funny jokes.
Wait a second. Don't get crazy. Okay, I don't know about if it's good.
Clooney,
okay.
You saw Clooney. If I saw this movie, I'd be like, this guy could be some money.
Okay, see, I thought the opposite. To me, I thought Clooney was the worst part of this movie.
What?
I was not a fan. There were so many better characters. To me, he was so corny, and he tried to play that. Wait, you say
corny or horny? Because he's very horny in this movie.
He is. Well, he's extremely horny in this movie. Well, that's the thing. He's trying to be that frat guy, horny kid from the 80s. It just didn't fit. To me, I don't know. I feel like he tried too hard and it just didn't go with him. And I don't know. Because I feel like in the beginning of the movie, he was the stud and he was the cool friend. By the end of the movie, he was the dork.
He was like Wyatt and
yep.
Weird Science, the same thing.
He flipped it, but it flipped. So he started off the other kid was the nerd until he started dating the girl, and then it kind of. So I don't know.
Wait, did you say he was dating a girl?
Well, she became a girl, a real girl.
We'll talk about that, how that happens. But no, I would say he has that. I don't know. He just has this look to him, and you're like, holy shit! Isn't it crazy? We've done this for 3.5, almost 4 years, and we did 2 movies that George Clooney probably got wiped from his memory.
100%. And first of all, he looked like he was older than college. So I think that added to it. But to go back to what you're saying before, this movie, see, there's I'm trying to think of one of the stupid comedies that we did, which was just so bad I didn't like, which was half of them. But this movie, like it knew it was a campy, silly movie, but the comedy in there and the lines and just the characters were so creative and so funny that if you put them in another movie, like a big movie, it would have worked so much more, like, so I just very creative writing, and I loved it. I laughed so many times.
Yeah, we'll get into like scene by scene, but like just to say a few things before we like go through everything. One thing I loved was and I'm sure movies did this before it, but the breaking of the fourth wall in this movie was so funny because you're like, okay, they did it once and it was really funny, and then the other times they did it, somehow they just got getting funnier and funnier. Like the one with Anthony Stark, who plays Chad in this movie. He was, I hope to interview him one day because I loved him on Seinfeld as the Jimmy. And then he's also in a Bond sequel. So that'd be great to be able to talk to him about that and the rest of his career. But there is the one part of the movie when they're doing the sales pitch for San Diego quads, and they're going through the whole thing. And he's like, Jesus, do we have enough money to finish this goddamn turkey already?
They put down their own movie multiple times throughout the movie, which again, it's very, very airplane-ish. Like it was just like they say something that you didn't think was going to really be what they said, and then it came out as the gag, So no, it was very well written.
And to do a sequel that's 11 years or 9 years after the original, it's completely nailed.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't remember the original that much. I one scene stands out to me in the original movie when the guy goes undercover at the campsite. Yes. And
they showed that in this movie for a second.
Yeah, they showed it, but they didn't say his line. Do you remember the line he has? So
anybody have
any ketchup? Yeah. So like he's eating with them all, and he's eating with all the big tomatoes.
He's in this movie.
Who? He was?
It's the guy that dressed like the Lone Ranger. The guy who was like Omar Gaddafi in the intro that I played.
I thought, first of all, he was Stanley from The Office. Well, he looked like Stan.
He does. That guy gained a lot of, he was kind of big in the first movie, but yeah.
No, he wasn't. He was skinny in the first movie. He was super skinny. Are you sure the same guy?
I can double check.
No. I think the guy died in the first movie because after he told them he wants ketchup, they killed him. Well, it's not the same guy.
He could have survived.
It's not the same guy.
Let's take a look.
You are. No, I think you're mistaken.
I'll take a look right now. But yeah, no, he did look like Stanley. He really did. Look like Stanley.
And if I didn't know this movie came out a long time ago, I thought it was Stanley.
Yeah. Oh my god. But there was just so much to really like about this movie.
This happens right in the beginning. And it's a funny gag that I wrote down because I didn't understand it. And then they came back to it at the end of the movie. And I was laughing. Do you know what I'm going to say?
Oh, yeah. No, yeah. The last end scene was so funny.
Well, no.
Are you talking about when they're in the pizzeria?
The pizzeria. And
God,
he throws the pizza.
Good.
So he throws the pizza up in the air, the dough in the air, and then walks away and it doesn't come down. And I'm like, did they mess up? Like, because they didn't address it the rest of the movie until the last scene and it falls on his head. Like, I mean, like, that's such a great gag. Like, because you forgot about it. Like, it was so noticeable when it happened. And then you're like, all right, the rest of the movie, you totally forgot about it. And then it falls down. Like, that, to me, super clever.
Oh my God. No, I was dying because he's like, yeah, remember all the gags we set up in the first part? Well, they're all coming back. And then George Clooney's like, not all of them. And it fell on his head. Yeah, do you remember that guy's name? What was that guy's name? Was his name the guy who dressed
the Lone Ranger guy?
Yes. His name was Sam Smith? No, I think it was Sam Smith. Let's see if this is Frank Davis. Was he in the original? No, he was not.
Of course not.
He was in the next one.
Okay, well, because he's alive in this one. The one that went undercover, he was dead because he made that mistake of saying he wants ketchup.
Yeah, splat. So let's get into this movie. I just saw an interesting thing about an actress later in the movie, Terry Weigel. She's an adult film star. I don't know how I would know that. I think somebody told me that, but she plays the Playboy Playmate, which she was later in that scene with Matt. When he gives her the yellow toothbrush and she holds it to her lips and then he holds the cover behind her of her But she was in a ton of sequels. I reached out to her for an interview. She never got back. She was in Predator 2. She's in like a bunch of sequels before she got into the adult film world.
Okay, so this movie is rated R, but I felt like it was typical. Yeah.
Wow. Why?
That's what I'm going to say. Like, I don't think there was any nudity, right? Was there any?
It was like a lot of side boob in that big-breasted girl first.
Well, okay. So when the first scene is basically them, all you see is girls running on the beach. I'm like, all right, you know what's going to happen, but you don't see anything. Like, I feel like they didn't. They teased it, and then like nothing happened. So like they kind of failed the 80s rule.
They did fail. How'd they do that? They did everything else that was great. And I think right here I'm gonna add in a clip of that song because I think that's one of the greatest songs ever.
When those big busted tomatoes go to the beach and take their tops off.
Well, if you can get the fiddle part or whatever it was, I was dying. I was dying when they did that.
I just love the guy's deep voice here and take their tops off. It was like big breasted girls,
but they didn't like. So now we watched it on Pluto. Do they censor it on Pluto?
I watched it on Tubi. I didn't see it.
Tubi.
No,
that's what I meant. Tubi.
Yeah, okay. I don't know. I hope Tubi didn't do that. Why would they do that?
Well, this seems like a movie that would be primed for showing some boobage. So.
Oh yeah, 100%. But yeah, so let's get right into this movie. So right in the beginning, you get it's spoof right from the get go. We get a $1 movie on channel 73. And then we get a Pee Wee Herman kind of reference, which I'm sure Pee Wee took that for somebody else. But the secret word of the day is the.
And again, another joke that didn't come into play until the end.
I was dying when that happened. Yeah.
Yeah.
So then again, one guy shows the movie and they said this is gonna be the movie of the day, and then we get big breasted girls, which again I'm gonna play the clip in here, but the first line of the song, it's a bitch in life when you're out of school.
You know what? I wonder if whoever sang it was making it up as he went along.
It sounds like that, right? It sounds like Colin McRae. It sounds like a Who's
Line it does because there's I don't know if it was that song or maybe the song at the end. He just starts talking about what we're looking at. like he was singing. I mean, he was singing like lines of what we were actually seeing on the screen. So like it's almost like he was watching the movie back and just making a song up as he's watching it.
God, do you remember when literal music videos? Do you remember? That?
I love them. Yeah. So that's what it reminded me of the way they did that. So you see this in a lot of movies, a lot of like. Back in the day, I guess, of just parties on the beach of just girls running around dancing without music, because we're hearing the music. They're not hearing music. Is that how parties were back then? Like, is that
hope
beach?
So. I wrote that. I have a note that I wrote, I want to dance like this one day.
Because it happens in every movie when there's like a beach scene, and the girls are running around, the guys are dancing, but they're not listening to music. We're hearing the music. So like, are they just dancing to like silence?
They might be. If there's no dialogue spoken, which there isn't, they probably are pumping music somehow. I don't know what song it is. Maybe it's like a Crispin Glover final chapter. Like, what is he listening to in his head? Would they play on set because him and that twin dance to different songs? But no, you're totally right.
Yeah, and it happens in every movie. So all right.
So then we get. I would say one of the best to ever do it. And I would say he would be like in our sequel Hall of Fame. And I think here's the thing we'll talk about. We'll talk about it in a little bit, but I think I bet you when I say it, either you're going to say, oh, you're right. Or I thought of the same thing, but we get John Astin, who Teen Wolf 2, obviously Addams Family. Like, dude, he is like one of the best to ever do it because even like Stephen Andrews said in the interview, that guy doesn't walk on set and be like, oh, this is a low budget. I'm going to give him my all. He
doesn't care. And he does give his all. I mean, he looks like a mad scientist. He jumped into that role and he does it perfectly. Like, he's so good. I mean, he's just, I love him in everything he does. And he's great. Yeah.
But he's a great scientist. Okay. Because what he can do, right? He can turn a tomato into a dollar store Rambo. But the thing that I don't understand is the process. Like, why wouldn't he have like maybe like a switch that you flip. Why does that have to be a quarter into a jukebox and each song corresponds to a different type of person? Because later in the movie, you're like, whoa.
Well, I did talk about the jukebox. So I said, first of all, why does he need a jukebox? Because he does have a tape recorder later. But even if he has a jukebox, maybe he likes, have a jukebox. Wouldn't you would have a jukebox that you got to pay money for? Like if it's your own jukebox, wouldn't it be every song be free?
Maybe somebody else owns it and he borrows it and he's paying it every time a guy comes in once a week and he collects all the quarters.
I mean, I don't know. It's just, it's ridiculous. Yeah, I guess. I mean, and would a jukebox have, what was it, Mozart or Beethoven as the song? Like, because that's the song that makes her, right? Or brings her back.
Well, I'm trying to think the song that.
It's a classical song. It's a classical song that brings her.
Yeah. But the song that makes Rambo, guys. So I think once you're initially turned from a tomato to Dollar Store Rambo, then you could be turned back by that same song. That's why later he's able to use the tape recorder, because when they have all the tomatoes on the ground, I'm like, I don't know what's happening right now.
Yeah. Well, but what doesn't make sense is, okay, so they turn into the Dollar Store Rambos with that song, which really doesn't have anything to do with Rambo, but Miranda or Conchita Banana or whatever, like, it was like a Spanish kind of song, right? Wasn't it kind of like, so that makes sense that it would bring Miranda, but the song for Rambo had nothing to do with like, it was.
Yeah, it wasn't like it was, they should have a song like the Contra theme song for the video game. They should have something heavier, a hard rock, something. But no, there was no rhyme or reason for that. Yeah, so you can turn from a tomato and come out with clothes on. You would think it'd be like Terminator, like you're nude, like you travel through time or something. If you go from a tomato,
wait.
You'd be nude.
So this scientist can create a human with music and a tomato, and you don't think it's possible that he can create clothes with it? Like that's impossible. Like
how would that be like added to the formula? It's like,
well, I think
let me add fatigues and an AR-15 or something.
We're talking about a scientist who's making tomatoes with the humans. I don't think it really matters if it has clothes or not. I mean, that's like the easy part. To me, the clothes is the easy part.
That's
getting the
human.
Part? Yeah. I just like the process is all he does is put it on top of a test tube.
Well, no, first he has to use that glove. He uses that glove to dip it into toxic waste that Igor, who looks like Bradley Cooper. That guy looks so much like Bradley Cooper.
Oh, a bigger Bradley Cooper, but yes.
Bigger. Oh, yeah.
And so I almost thought they were going to do a gag where he asked for the glove, but then when he grabs the tomato, he grabbed it with his other hand. And like, so but then they used the glove to go into that big barrel. But now, was Igor a tomato also?
He was not a tomato. He was, remember how creepy he was and how obsessed he was with news anchors?
No,
because that's what he wanted to be.
Yeah.
No, he was not a tomato. No, he just came out of nowhere and he wanted to work for him. I don't know.
Okay. Just because he was pretty funny. I mean, and I looked up his IMDb. He really didn't do much. He wasn't in much at all.
Oh,
so,
really?
I mean, yeah, because I thought he was pretty funny. I mean, the fact that he asked them to walk like, or he says, it's hard to look at you because you're too good looking. And he started walking like Igor.
Yes, he started walking like Igor, and then at one point he's not wearing pants when he gets out of the garbage truck. Randomly not wearing pants.
That scene didn't make sense. Why wasn't he wearing pants?
No, but that was funny. He's like, I can't have a servant I can't have an assistant that looks like you. And then he started like, only for that scene, and then the rest he was back to his like normal self.
Yeah,
well, not too normal, but yeah. So then we get. Then we cut to the pizza place. Anthony Stark gets top billing as Chad, and the newspapers in all movies. I think random newspaper clippings are the best, but I love the one that we get. It says Congress bans tomatoes. So this is a pizza place that makes some of the grossest pizza.
Very much so, but I'm not surprised because the name of the pizzeria is Thin Letters. So, like, they didn't even use an Italian, like a name for a pizzeria, like Thin Letters. If you told me, we're going to order pizza from Thin Letters, I'm not going to order it.
I'll get DiGiorno. I'll get DiGiorno instead of.
I'd rather have Pizza Hut than Thin Letters.
Oh,
you know, so I'm not surprised they don't, you know, I don't know. I'm not surprised. Now, before we go any further, and I was thinking about this before. So this is Killer Tomatoes. Why do you think they came up with tomatoes? I mean, out of all the fruit and vegetables they could have used, like to me, pineapples are pretty like tough looking, right? Like I think like tomatoes aren't scary. They're not like so like I wonder why like how they came up with tomatoes and why.
Ooh, here's my quick guess, because I thought about this as well when I was watching it. I was trying to think, and I'm sure John DeBello like did an interview or something one day, or I should ask Steven, what if it was because tomatoes were always something that was thrown at like artists? Like when people do a bad job, they get tomatoes thrown at them, rotten tomatoes, even though Rotten Tomatoes wasn't around then. But that was always something synonymous with like art. So maybe it was the tomatoes? No.
I mean, I would say the first of all, I was thinking like bananas, because you know people always slipping on banana peels, so that would have been good. You know,
but tomatoes.
Not no. But I'm thinking, all right, maybe the only thing about tomatoes is when you squish it, it looks like it's blood squirting all over the place.
Oh, okay.
So maybe that's why. But I was just wondering because there's so many other fruit you could have done or vegetables. And like pineapple came up right away. I'm like, you know what? Pineapples could have been cool.
What other fruits are like? Is there another one that has its really tough exterior that's like kind of
dragon fruit?
Ooh, and has a cool name.
It does. See, like again, they're so like if you were at the meeting, and what if they all laughed at the guy? You know, hey Tom, you know, tomatoes. Really? That's the one. I don't know why I picked Tom. Like tomatoes.
Tom.
Get it?
Maybe the guy who made it, his name is Tom Ado.
But I mean, like seriously, I would have thought like, you know, like or else maybe because tomato is kind of a wimpy kind of a fruit or vegetable that's what makes it funny.
Ooh, fruit or vegetable. Wow, my God.
It is.
There's people right now just pulled over and they're just like, what is it? It could be both, right? It could be both.
I think a kiwi would have been tougher than a tomato.
Oh my God. All the tomatoes just turned off the podcast. FT just turned off the podcast. Can we talk about FT now? Because I really got to get this off my chest. So when you heard FT talk, what did you think of?
I thought, well, first of all, yeah. Oh, Beaker?
No, he sounded like Cousin It. And I even looked it up. And I'm like, I tried to look. There's no credit voice actor for that. And I'm like, dude, would it have been great if it was the same Cousin It guy that worked with John Astin on Addams Family? It sounded exactly like him.
It does, but first of all, I couldn't figure out the name. I thought it was RT. FT, I don't know. First of all,
FT Fuzzy Tomato.
I had no idea. I couldn't figure it out. But okay, so let me ask you. So if you, first of all, it does sound like Beaker. Also,
it does sound like Beaker.
Okay,
I'm just saying the John Astin connection.
No, I know. So now let's just say the guy that does, or the woman that does the voice for FT. And that's the only credit that she has on IMDb. Is she in SAG?
SAG.
Is that SAG worthy?
I think there's some good because it speaks randomly. FT starts talking because the whole movie was like me, and then there's a change in FT, which we'll get to when we get to that. FT starts doing things that I never thought I'd see a tomato do.
Does a lot of things, but he also knows directions very well because he's able to go anywhere he wants. And I would assume, I mean, he's not a big, he's bigger than the average tomato, but it would take a long time to get where he needs to go a lot of times. And he gets there pretty quick.
It's way too quick.
And, if he is a tomato, even though he's fuzzy, the fact that he's constantly bouncing around and like landing all over the place, you would think he would squish it at some point.
Yeah, he would damage.
There's a point when he gets a beat down, and and he's not squished at all.
Nope.
Like, so is he like a hard tomato?
Maybe the fuzz. Maybe the fuzz is like a tough exterior. It's like a Kevlar, and he's able to protect himself with it. Because I don't remember him in the first one. If he is great, but if he's not in the first one,
why would he be in the first one?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe
he was created in this one.
We didn't see him get made.
Yes, we did, because he was a bad tomato. he was throwing them away. He was going to throw it away, wasn't he?
No, I know, but that means he was created in this one.
I think so.
Oh, really? Okay.
I thought she brought. Did it? Where'd she find him? He was at the lab.
He was in the house with her. I thought they were buddies because she was.
Well, they became buddies because the professor was throwing him away because he was a rotten tomato because he was fuzzy. I don't remember how he
tomato. Is that how the guy created this? He heard John Aston, which his name's Gangrene, Professor Gangrene.
I know. But when did Rotten Tomatoes start?
Oh, I'm sure. Well, I'm sure it wasn't pre-internet.
So do you think that they got the idea from?
I hope so. From FT. I hope they credit FT.
Imagine they had like a picture of FT on the Rotten Tomato page.
Oh God, no! In their offices, everywhere.
Well,
there's a
but no one's going to see that. I'm talking about like everybody's looking at Rotten Tomatoes, but the first thing you see is FT.
They should do that. I'm going to write a letter.
You should.
in tomato sauce from FT.
Yeah,
but then we get
yeah. I was going to say, well, we're probably not there yet. So by the way, I didn't know that she was a tomato until later on.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then we get Chad's delivering pizzas, and he shows up at Gangrene's house. And I love that he's delivering the pizza by strapping it onto the back of the Vespa with a bungee cord, and he's hitting like all these bounces. And then we see Tara. Whew. I like Tara.
She looked familiar, and she wasn't in a lot of things either.
No.
And I'm surprised because I think she did a pretty good job.
No, she was great. And I even wrote, this is, again, before we know what happens, I wrote here, she talks like she's a tomato.
Did you really? See, I you know what? She was very robotic when she, first of all, was that the first time he met her?
No, he's seen her before.
Okay, because they didn't show. Okay, so like he obviously knew that she was there, but like I thought she was just like kind of like being cautious of what she was saying because of the professor. Like I didn't realize she was a tomato until she says my brother to the FT. So until that point, I had no idea she was a tomato.
Yeah, well, no, you should have known before that. No, when she was like listening to Farmers, her favorite station to listen to was Farmers Report, and she was like buying plant food sticks.
It didn't click, and he put the headphones on her. It didn't click. I thought he didn't want her to see what's going. I hear what's going on. Like I was so oblivious to it that I really did not get it because I literally wrote down. Wait, she called him a brother. And I had no idea why she was calling the tomato her brother.
And I love that she, like, again, whenever somebody in a movie says like a line, or anybody even that you know in real life, and they say a line like, hey, they're definitely not blank, you know it's them. When she goes, oh yeah, they're definitely not tomato men. Because all those like dollar store Rambos are walking around. And they all, so she can speak, right? She speaks, but the tomato men, they grunt. They were grunting to each other. What kind of, is it a different kind of tomato?
Well, because they were tough guys. No tough guys grunt.
Like a no holds barred.
Yeah, that's what it just sounded like. I mean, yeah, you know what? It's weird. I don't think there's any rules or rhyme or reason with the tomatoes. I just think, he creates them, and some speak, some don't. Some have clothes, some don't.
And so the different songs make different tomatoes. It's different kinds of tomatoes. Like if I use like a Jersey tomato or beefsteak tomato or Roma tomato, does that like have anything to do with the formula?
So you think if you use a Jersey tomato, you're gonna get like a Jersey Shore situation?
Yeah, dude. Oh, the situation's coming out. Yeah. If they made it one of those movies today, 100%. Yeah. Snooki might come out too.
Oh.
Somehow they're still going on vacation. I think they did another season of them going down the shore together.
They are. It's literally people are. Again, I don't want to turn anyone off our podcast, but I find it amazing that the people are still watching the show when they're married, they have kids. How is it any like enjoyable anymore? It's just,
what's the situation? I did 2 years in prison for tax evasion. Oh, so cool. Oh my God. So then we get, I think it was right after this part, then we get more of like flashing back to the first movie. And I love even like a voiceover was like, what are they going to do? Use clips from the first movie? Which is pretty funny. But we get like a news report talking about, and then we remember the Great Tomato War and the smuggling of tomatoes. And I love one bit that I loved, and I want to buy a hat, but his Uncle Wilbur, his hat, instead of VFW, it was, what was it? VTW? Yeah, Veteran of Tomato Wars.
Tomatoes, yeah. Well, they had a couple of those. I mean, you had the FBI, you had the
FBI, yeah.
FBI, yeah. I mean, yeah, no, and they had so many like articles and plaques on the wall that I was trying to scan through it, and it was hard because there's so many things going through. So I mean,
I know there were so many of them. And then the first time we see Clooney, he is wearing a fedora and he has a tiny hoop earring.
He's such a hoop. I don't know. I was not a fan. He was corny. And I just love that he got top billing and he's not even the main star.
No, I know. It's funny when you look at like IMDb and stuff, he's the first one. But for the movie, it was pretty cool. Anthony Stark was the first one. He was the one that, because Clooney auditioned for that role too, but then Steven Andrick and DeBello were like, oh, I think you'd be better for that part.
No, yeah, I don't think he could have done the other part.
Yeah.
And, he played that part like the typical 80s, like the guy from Mannequin 2, like, being neurotic and being that 80s neurotic, like that's how he played. And he played it so well. Like he really did.
Oh, no, it was so funny. And I love that. The song Puberty Love is the song that saved the day. And then obviously we get that callback in this movie. But just that scene, like thinking about when even though it was like a flashback from the first one, but when they start playing that song and then all the big ginormous tomatoes,
oh my goodness,
sort of like shrinking, so ridiculous.
That's the one thing that I feel like this movie was missing. Like there really weren't
actually
tomatoes. Yeah, there really weren't people? Outside of FT, which wasn't even a real tomato. Like there were no tomatoes. So, I mean, I know we were talking about covering the other movie as well, which I think had more tomatoes. I mean, I'm glad that we did this one because this is funny. But, yeah, they really, for a sequel, it didn't have one tomato. Like one tomato death.
No tomato deaths. We had other things with tomatoes, which we'll get into to discuss. But, no, no tomato deaths.
No tomatoes.
The whole thing.
Yeah.
So then Matt is running a table. And it's win a date with Rob Lowe. And he's using that to get girls' phone numbers. And it's kind of ironic because he went on to obviously be kind of like a heartthrob himself, like George Clooney, like ER and stuff. And like he's doing this bit like with Rob Lowe. I thought that was pretty funny.
I really thought there's going to be a cameo of like Rob Lowe.
Yeah.
That would have been great.
He was huge, right?
No, I know.
Then.
But I mean, that would have been cool. That would have been funny. But yeah, this is like, that just shows you what kind of character that George Clooney is. Like he was kind of sleazy throughout the whole movie.
Yeah. Oh no, he totally was.
Did we come across the mime yet?
No, that's coming up soon because right after this was when you mentioned before the first time Tara says, "Oh, little brother," when she sees the hairy tomato and she calls him, "I'm going to call you FT." Yep. And then we get Chad like trying to be like he's on like a reality show for cooking because he's like, "Yeah, I'm going to put the marmalade on. I'm going to put the jam." And he's like, yeah. And then Tara comes in just like soaking wet.
So does she ever say fuzzy tomato? Yeah,
she says it once. She goes, I'm going to call you FT for fuzzy tomato.
Okay. Because I was going to say, I don't remember hearing that at all. Maybe I was writing notes. So I thought
that's like minute 20 that she says little brother. So at that point, you should have been.
No, I'm on board now. I know.
You were at this point, you knew.
Okay. Yes, now I know. Actually, I think my daughter told me. She goes, "Dad, they made reference to her that she, I'm like, I wasn't paying attention."
So then her first line to him was, "Do you want to make love?" And she has the way she delivers some of these lines in this movie, like they're like, some are very sexual, some are really silly, and they are perfect.
Okay, so this is a scene where I told my daughter to go upstairs because I wasn't watching it with her anymore because some of the lines that she comes out with, but then the rest of the movie really was kind of tame. Like, so she could have watched it. But like starting now and their interaction reminded me of Mannequin and Splash. Like, like the same kind of like concept. Like, you know, you got this weird woman who just has no idea what typical concepts are. And he falls in love with her, but there's a secret behind it. You know, I mean,
well, the other movies, it was she was a mannequin,
right? And one's a mermaid.
The other movie, and one's a well, you know what? This isn't that. Is this as weird?
Well, I was going to get there. So,
tomato.
Okay, well, the mermaid wins. I mean, out of the three, that's probably the best one, right? The best scenario.
At least it is something that's real.
Correct, and it's a woman, and mermaids are usually pretty, so that I'll take that. Or they might smell fishy though. So that's yeah. But what is weirder? Falling in love with a mannequin or falling in love with a tomato? Like if you like, what would you be more embarrassed to tell your friends?
Well, like if I had a one night stand and then I woke up the next morning and you had two different like timelines of me. One morning after the great night, I wake up next to like a stiff mannequin, or the next morning I wake up next to a tomato with a hole in it. Maybe no. I
would say the tomato would be like mush. So, but I mean, like in reality, like what would be more embarrassing to tell your friends, that I fell in love with a tomato or I fell in love with a mannequin?
I would say tomato. I don't know.
Oh, you think that's more embarrassing?
More embarrassing is a tomato. Yeah, at least a mannequin and it looks like a girl. Like, what am I doing with? I only have one tomato, so I'm squeezing one boob.
So all. What if there's women out there with one boob?
Well, there are women out there with one
okay,
boob.
so
I'm just saying.
So that's not all right. I almost feel like tomato might be easier to explain because mannequins, it's like,
oh, and you're Italian. It'd be easy to tell your mom, I fell in love with a tomato, Mom. Oh, grazie.
What, only Italians like tomatoes?
Yeah.
Okay.
That would be accepting of a tomato daughter-in-law.
I just think that a mannequin is just, you can't get a real girl, so you have to dress a fake wooden whatever it's made of, you know, to look like a girl. That look like, to me, that's more pathetic.
So if there was like the MTV show and it was like, remember it was like, what was that? Was not True Life, right? I think it was True Life, and it was like, I'm in love with my car. Like the weirder episode would be like, I'm in love with a tomato. I mean, in your eyes, I'm in love with a mannequin is weirder.
I don't know. Unless if you're putting a wig on the tomato, and then like, you know, all right. So then that makes it weird.
Oh, dude, that's what I wish happened later in a scene when she gets turned back.
Oh yeah,
like that would have been really funny. Well, I guess they both were kind of funny, like both scenarios. But yeah, no, if you put a wig on your tomato,
if she had like if like her big shoes are there and like a wig, and you said a tomato.
That'd have been great. But no, her line that I'm sure you sent your daughter upstairs when, because he's like, what's great the way he plays it off, kind of like you said, Andrew McCarthy, or even, I should know his name, but for Mannequin too. Like the way they play the role, Anthony Stark does it so well because he's like so shocked looking and you like believe him because he's like, did your mom drop you on your head? And then her line goes, can I cook you something? Then he doesn't even say anything. He's just like, again, jaw on floor.
Yep.
How about a blowjob and then I'll iron your pants?
That's when I sent her upstairs. I'm like, she looked at me. She goes, "Is that a thing?" I go, "Yep, go upstairs." And I'm like, I'm out. You know, I was not gonna. I was afraid of what the rest of the movie was going to be like. And then again, it was very tame. But yeah, he plays that neurotic, like nerdy guy who's never like has a hard time finding a date. Which is in every '80s movie, you have that one guy that ends up with the hot girl at the end of the movie. But until then, he doesn't have to, you know, deal with it. And yeah, I mean, this was, you know what, nerdy or not, she walks in to anyone, you're going to be shocked. Even George Clooney, who thought he was like the man, if she said that to him, he'd be shocked.
Oh yeah.
You know? So
100%. And you know, what's funny, like this movie, obviously this might be part of the bit what we're about to like discuss with them not having money, but it's kind of like Home Alone 3. Like, what's a good song for kids? And they do Bad Bad Leroy Brown. How about this? George Clooney's walking home the next morning, which he didn't sleep in his own apartment, so maybe he was with a girl.
Do they share an apartment? Because I was unsure about that.
No, they live together. Yeah, they live together.
Okay, all right.
But he comes home, and while he's walking in, maybe he just had a one-night stand because he's excited. He's singing, "Oh, Susanna."
Stupid.
Yeah.
So these guys share an apartment, but they both work at a pizzeria.
Yeah,
in the 80s,
uncle's pizzeria. Yeah,
right. So in the 80s, when I'm sure they didn't make a lot of money.
Well, rents were cheap back then. Come on,
you can work as a delivery guy in a pizza and own an apartment or rent an apartment.
Maybe it was like a shithole, but I think so. I really think so.
I don't think so.
I don't know what rents were back then, but
I don't either. But I'm assuming he also wasn't making a lot of money as a pizza delivery. So, all right. I mean, considering does he have a car?
He has a Vespa.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Oh no, he does have the nice car at the end of the movie. Whose car is that?
Yeah,
it's like a nice sports car.
Yeah, so why would he deliver pizza on the Vespa? If he had a car, wouldn't it make more sense to deliver it on him?
Yeah.
All right.
And Chad thinks his whole thing's a dream because when Clooney gets back to the apartment and he's like, "Hey, Chad, how was your night?" And then he sees her in the shower, and God, just her lines, just the way she's talking like a malfunctioning robot.
He saw the silhouette of her behind the door. He didn't realize it was a woman. Like he thought it was his buddy was in there. And let's be honest, every 80s movie has a Chad. I've never met a Chad my entire life.
I've never met a Chad either.
Right. But every 80s movie has a Chad.
Yeah. It's one of those names. You got to throw it into the movie. You got to throw it into the movie. But we never met one.
I don't think there are any Chads anymore. I think Chad died out in the 80s.
Chad.
Would you want to be called Chad?
No.
Does it Chad? What is Chad? Chad means, doesn't Chad mean something like Chad, like such a Chad, like such a, like a.
Well, Chad. Well, that's what it means. Like it's when you call somebody a Chad, it's talking about that you're a terrible like nobody likes you.
Right. That's what I mean. So like, really, you want that name as,
No, you better not name it. If you're listening, guys, and you're having a kid, no, Chad, please don't do that to him.
Don't do it.
Yeah, at all.
So okay. So in this scene, she's taking a shower and Chad's sleeping. Now he wasn't drinking, right? So he woke up thinking he had a dream. What kind of night?
Yeah, no, I would probably feel the same way as him. If a guy that she's a smoke show. Okay, he wasn't expecting it, so maybe he thought like maybe he had too much boysenberry on his pizza, and he had a sugar high, and she came in and he lost it.
Okay, I don't think so. Based on some of the things that she was suggesting they do, I'm assuming they did some of those things at night. You're going to wake up in the morning thinking, oh, it was all a dream? I don't think so.
Wait, I have the one line written down.
By the way, what is boysenberry? Because he puts it on the pizza.
Yeah, it's a type of berry.
You're telling me boysenberry is a berry? Oh, thanks.
It was a berry that I know was in Oregon because we used to get it. It was really good. But no, there's a line.
It's not a made up. Yeah, I always thought it was a made up berry.
No, that's schnozberry from that's made up. But no, there is a line. They talk about it during this scene, but she says, "I can do something with 4 milk cartons and a tuning fork." And later in the movie, Gangrene says it to Chad, and Chad's like, "Oh, let me at him." So great.
I always feel like it doesn't make sense.
It makes zero sense. Yeah, no, it makes zero sense. But I do love throughout this whole movie, like that's a really small apartment, and FT is really loud. And when right after she agrees to like make them all breakfast, and she goes into the kitchen, and remember she's like smelling the detergent. She's pouring it into her own hand, smelling it. And then randomly throughout the rest of the movie, she pulls FT out of like cabinets or in a room and just starts tickling him or her.
What? Well, it's tomatoes. You don't know how tomatoes show affection.
Oh, I guess. But I guess she would know. She's a tomato. That's right.
Why didn't they make Chad? Why didn't they turn him into a human? Like even by the end of the movie, they didn't do that. Like why keep him as a tomato?
That would be a great cameo. I don't know. That would have been great if that was Rob Lowe.
I was gonna, you know what? I was gonna say the same thing. If that turned out to be Rob Lowe, that would have been amazing.
Yeah.
Or kind of like Splash. What if they decided to become tomatoes and Chad becomes a tomato?
Wow. And then they just like they get together for a nice salsa, and they're together for
salsa. That means they would like be crushed and die. I mean, I don't know if that's, but yeah, I don't know. All right.
I do love when Chad finally does come to realization that all of this, what's going on, and he goes to Matt and he goes, "Yeah, this is she did something really weird," and they go into the shower, which Matt was just in before, and there's a bag of fertilizer with like fertilizer. Did she like run out in the middle of the night and grab that fertilizer? This is her first night there.
So okay, so that makes you right. So where'd she get that from? And that makes you think. All right, so are they only the shell of a human, but have the interest of a tomato?
Good question.
Like she's a human, so she should want like human, like be human stuff. So like, but why is she still tomato stuff? Or is it just like even though you're human, you still have all the tomato tendencies and everything else?
I would say the latter. I would say, yeah, just the outside is human and everything else is all tomato because she eats fertilizer sticks from the store. Okay.
So you're saying if Chad became a tomato, he would still eat like hamburgers?
Yeah, that'd be pretty funny, right? Him trying to eat a hamburger. Oh, he'd be tomato eating a hamburger. That'd be something.
But what? Yeah, and what if there was a tomato in there? Would you be a cannibal, like a tomato cannibal?
I guess so. But that scene we can talk about it now because I sort of just mentioned it. But when he comes back later in the movie and he finds Tara in the room with FT eating the fertilizer sticks, it was like a dad catching his son smoking weed because I was dying. Like his face, he was like so disgusted that she was a tomato.
But that lasted like 5 seconds.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
So like he was so disgusted that he ran, but that she ran now, but he was okay with it. Like, and he was okay with all her disgusting habits up until that point.
Yeah, he was totally fine with it. But
now you get the montage coming up.
The dating montage is coming up. So just before that, this is where we get Igor when he goes up to Dr. Gangrene and he talks about that he wants to be a news anchor, but in the meantime, he wants to do this job. But did you notice I saved the photo and I should have just set it up so I could share it for people watching this. But the Ted Baxter, his certificate was the Ted Baxter School of Broadcasting with a photo of Ted Knight from Mary Tyler Moore.
Yeah, I didn't see that.
Great throwback. Like
that's
so
awesome.
Great. Yeah. And so when his job is to get the guy who was the bad guy in the first movie, like one of the bad guys in the first movie, and he goes to a prison, and those guards, again, they probably don't do a good vetting process. Is I think I would kind of question if a guy was driving a garbage truck and he was driving up in a suit.
Why? They can't dress up?
You'll ruin your suit.
You're not rolling in the garbage.
I guess you dress for the job you want, right?
You could do what you could do what my garbage men do. They don't bring the garbage pails to the truck. They take the garbage out of the container. They throw it in the street, and then they pick it up and put it in the garbage truck.
They throw the full bag.
They take it out of the. I watch them every morning. They take it out and they throw it in the street. And the problem is, I have one bag of dog crap from when I pick it up every weekend. So one of these days, those bags are going to land in the middle of the street and it's going to open up. And that's going to be a problem.
That's weird because you don't even have a dog. You just collect it as a hobby.
Well, not a hobby. I don't have a toilet either. That's just so you got to do what you got to do. I can't believe they
throw it in the middle of the street. What if the bag rips? What if somebody has cheap bags?
I'm going to guess they're going to leave it there. I don't think they're going to stop and pick it up. So it's almost like angry garbage men. Like, they come here, they hate their job, and they just really like just almost like trying to get fired. They're pulling a George Costanza.
They are. So you mentioned it earlier and just now the date scene. So it's like a love song. We get Tara and Chad looking at jewelry, but instead of the jewelry, she'd rather have a toaster. I guess
What,
tomatoes like toasters.
what was the fascination with the toasters? Because that joke came on a few times.
Yeah, I guess because he programmed her, like Gangrene programmed her to be great at like cooking and cleaning and do all that stuff. So I guess that was like a play on her.
So
Not
her
caring about
cooking and
vanity?
cleaning, the first thing you think of is toaster, which really has nothing to do with cooking or cleaning.
Yeah, it's really just set it and forget it. Like it's like you don't really do much with a toaster.
So I mean, I just wish they explained it a little bit, and they really don't explain it.
Maybe
at
like
all.
it would be great like if it was like a fancy mop or a fancy broom, like something that there's actually like, but she's not doing any work.
No, it should have been like a flower pot. Should have been like something like that. That would have made more sense.
That would have done it for you. Miracle Grow, like she's fawning over.
Well, she would
box
eat
of
it.
Miracle.
That she would eat.
She would eat that.
So, but yeah,
What
I
would
mean,
she
there's something-
wear? Oh, a tomato cage. Like she's wearing a tomato cage dress.
Oh man. Oh, all right.
What about the mime?
The mime made no sense, but it was hysterical.
None.
I loved it though, because the fact that the mime kept showing up, like out of the blue, everywhere they went, the mime was there at some point.
until Chad had to knock him out.
That was pretty funny.
He was even at the sex shop. They go into
He
the
was.
sex shop,
He
and then
was
he shows
everywhere.
up out of nowhere.
He literally like was he following them, or like, again, that's such an airplane joke that like it makes no sense, but we're gonna throw it in there and we're gonna have that running gag going the whole time, and
Yeah.
it works. Like, it's funny.
Yeah, no, speaking of airplane and one that I like highlighted that I really want to talk to you about. So then they're at the store, okay? So they're at the store. This is where she buys the Miracle Grow like plant sticks. And when they're standing in the back of the store, they see a guy like in a trench coat as like a drug dealer, and he has like a little bag of like cherry tomatoes, and he pulls it out like he's selling like weed. And then he has the other tomatoes. And in my head, I'm like, what is the guy that owns the store doing with these tomatoes? Because you're not allowed to use tomatoes. Like, people would know if you use tomatoes. I'm sure there'd be a fine. So what's the purpose of having all these tomatoes?
Well, he's like you said before, the guy was very Italian, and Italians love tomatoes. I mean, they were playing the Godfather music in such a corny way. So, I mean, yeah, you know what? I was thinking the same thing. Maybe he's going to make gravy
At home.
No, and sell it like on the
black market.
On the black market. So that, I mean, obviously, I would assume that's what he's doing, because towards the end of the movie, he's got tons of tomatoes.
Oh, dude, when we show the one part, how many tomatoes he has, I'm like,
Yeah.
wow, dude, he's got like a problem.
Yeah.
So maybe he's addicted to the tomatoes. He's just like,
Why?
slice
Because
it all
wait, because he's Italian. He
He's
has to be addicted to
Italian,
tomatoes.
yeah.
We're really going to lose all the Italian, fans that we have.
Irish people, potato lovers.
Okay.
German people are the worst. They love bratwurst. and then we get the fancy restaurant,
Oh.
which, oh my God.
And there was a line later on in that we'll talk about after what happens. I was actually laughing, but yeah, you knew this was going to happen. And I think it would have been funny if their wig was on the something like, or hair was on the tomato when this happened. But this is pretty funny.
How uncomfortable she gets when he talks about it, because his Uncle Wilbur was in the Great Tomato War. But when he goes, his line, he says, a good tomato is a squash tomato, period. And she's like, oh, well, why would you say that? You don't even know any tomatoes. Like, she's really offended. Wouldn't he be like, it's kind of weird that I talk about tomatoes in a bad way, and you get like really weirded out by it.
Yeah, but he's so like, listen, she's beautiful. So he's
I would be like, whatever.
She could say whatever she wants, and he's like, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, again, the guy falls in love with a tomato later on. So does it really matter what she says at this point?
But I love that the violin player, of all the classical songs they play, that song.
Well, not even that. When he saw her sitting alone, how creepy he looked at her, like he's got a shot. So he comes over, like he had such a creepy look to him when he saw her alone, like. Yeah.
He was like, she's mine, and started playing it. And then I love it. Everybody's screaming about a tomato.
Well, maybe their family members got killed by a tomato.
That is true.
In the first movie. I mean, so you can't judge.
That would be sad. Tomato just came in, killed Grandpa, rolled him over.
I just think it would have been funny. Again, forget the wig. Like maybe like the tomato had like 2 cherry tomatoes for boobs, like in front of it.
Yeah,
there's something to show that it was her. You know?
Yeah. But we did get like a scene the next scene with John DeBello, because he's throughout this whole movie. He plays the news reporter, like so funny. Like he's a really funny guy.
Yeah.
And it was like very like Al Bundy-esque. The way he was just ripping into this woman when he was like, "Oh, you went out to eat all by yourself?" She's like, "Oh, well, my husband died." And it's like, "Honey, you haven't found anybody? How long ago did he die? 7 years. Wow, 7 years you haven't found anybody?"
Well, she also had a line. She goes, when he goes, "Tell me what happened." She's like, "Well, I was eating dinner. It was just terrible." And he goes, "All right, enough about dinner. Tell me what happened."
Yeah. Yeah, it was like those jokes. And then he even goes, and then he just starts attacking her. He goes, "Lady, you can't even see your feet." I'm like, oh my
Yeah,
God.
he went like, I mean, he went like, again, imagine those kind of jokes today. Like it wouldn't fly. He was like attacking her for no reason. And it was just,
it's Married with
it was
Children.
funny. It was totally,
With Children.
Yeah. Very funny.
Yeah. So then the breaking of the fourth wall, this is like one of the first ones.
First one.
When you get Igor, "Hey lady, has there been a chase in this movie yet?" She's like, "No." And then he starts driving and he crashes.
This is such a Naked Gun thing.
It's over.
Like it's such a Naked Gun thing. Like I literally, again, you thought there was going to be I really thought there was going to be some kind of chase, like a silly chase, but no, It was 5 seconds. And what she said, she goes, "Oh, that was the shortest chase I've ever seen."
She's in the movie a bunch. A lot of the people have like multiple roles. She's one of the ones that has like a bunch of roles in this movie.
Well, what was the budget for this movie? Do you know?
Oh, I don't know. It must have been like in the no way it was more than $1 million.
Okay, right. So I'm assuming to save money, everybody had to throw on a quick wig or whatever dress.
Oh yeah. $1 million bucks. $1 million. The first movie, 100,000.
That's amazing. That's awesome.
Even crazier, one that came up, people also search for. It says Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein. $760,000. That probably was a lot of money back then.
But if you watch that movie,
everybody's in it. That's why.
No, everybody's in it, and like it does. Like everything looks great. Like it is a good movie, like so. No, totally. But you look at the first movie compared to this movie. The first movie looks like it was filmed on a cheap camcorder. Like it was this movie actually looks like a movie. Like it looks like it's Mannequin. Looks like it's so you can see the difference in the budget.
No, totally. So then she got that toaster, because I just thought about that now, because cut to the next scene, Tara and FT are making a lot of toast together, and she's just sniffing the toast and listening to Farm Report. Like that's what she's doing. I
get the Farm Report, but what's the fascination with toast?
I don't know.
BLTs? She likes BLTs?
You wouldn't like that, right? That's like
that's true.
That's not
again,
good.
it's cannibal. Yeah, okay. All right.
Yeah,
all right. She likes BLs.
That sounds so gross. It sounds like, "Hey man, I ate some Taco Bell last night, took a huge BL."
What would BL stand for?
I don't know. I met this girl at the club. We went back to my car. She gave me a BL.
So dumb. And speaking of dumb, I mean, again, so stupid, but the whole Mr. Potato thing, Mr. Potato Head.
Oh yeah.
It makes no sense why he's doing that. Absolutely. And it's just silly. It's just so
he
stupid.
sells it. No, I know. It's so
No,
silly.
he does sell it. And it just, and it's funny that he's hiding it. He's describing what he's doing, and that I can't seem to put the eyes, the eyes never look normal, which does that happen to Mr. Potato Head? Like
no, there's only, the eyes are stuck together. They're
just stuck together, right? So
yeah.
All right. That makes it even funnier then. The fact that they had two separate eyes.
Yeah. And then right at this point, we had the saddest part of the movie. FT falls out of the window and then goes on the most wild ride ever.
I wrote down tomato hijinks.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, that's literally what it was. And it was just like, again, the sequence that happens to, like, you know, it's comical. Like, it was so well planned.
When he walks, when they do show the FT, I don't know if it is the way he walks. I don't know if that's like a big, like when you see how big he is when like Tara or other people are holding him. But when you see him walk, he's like those little wind up toys.
Yeah.
And you turn it and they walk like, because the feet move like that. Oh my God. That FT, man.
Well, you know, I didn't realize he had feet until that point. Because she kept holding, you know, she was holding him every time. So I didn't even know he had legs. So he has legs but no arms.
Well, he must have arms when we talk later in the movie. I don't want to talk about any of that yet. What he does later in the movie makes zero sense.
Well, he has leaves.
Oh, he does have leaves, yeah.
So the leaves count as
that
arms?
Move.
They do move.
I guess so.
Okay.
They move in a really cool way. It's like stop motion animation because they like probably somebody moves it a little bit, but
well, we also didn't talk. Okay, so we also didn't talk about when they zoom into or zoom away from Gangrea's castle. It was like a cartoony.
Oh, that was the budget part. That was I don't know if that came up yet. That's coming up really soon. Yeah, because that's when they talk about the product placement.
No, but they do show that house, that picture early in the movie. That's why they bring it. That's why they bring it up during the meeting. Because then they're showing you they said, and look at this picture that we had of the house or whatever. But so they literally showed that. That's why I was laughing because it did happen in the beginning of the movie.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Just before we get to the product placement, when they start talking about that, that's when we get the same woman that during the car chase, she's like, oh, we haven't had that yet. She's working in like a store. And in the store, the sign says homeless and it is in, and the mannequin is dressed like a homeless person. And then this is when everyone goes, ah, and they see FT and they start beating the crap out of him. But Tara comes out of nowhere to save him.
She knew exactly where he was. But again, he literally, FT had about at least 10 people stomping on him and beating him. He walked away with no bruises.
No bruises at all.
Like, it would have been funny if he had like a Band-Aid on him and like, you know, like those like dirt marks that show like a bruise, like, you know, like something. Nothing. He was like nothing happened to him.
Yeah, nothing at all. So then the product placement, we get another fourth wall broken. They're yelling at John DeBello, the director. Hey, we need money to finish this movie. What are we going to do? And then Clooney goes, hey, it's the 80s. It's time for product placement. I love in the background. Did you notice? Two guys are reading Playboy. Standing in the back, just reading Playboy, face covered.
Was it the same girls that were in the movie?
It was not the Playboy that we see with Terry Weichel on the cover later. No, it's not.
But this is where they said we had to cut corners, and that's when they showed the house. There was like a cartoon drawing, you know. Yeah. But I'm telling you, they used it in the beginning, which made it funnier. But yeah, this you know, again, the third wall. Like, to me, when spoof movies do this, they did this in I think they do it in Blazing Saddles too, right? Is it or something like that? I think
Spaceballs. They do Spaceballs when they're watching themselves.
Yeah, no, but I think Blazing Saddles. It just. So
I'm
fun.
Sure, yeah.
It's so out of the blue, yeah.
Yeah. So here's a clip. I totally forgot to play the meeting Tara one earlier, but no, this is I think this is a great one. The promotional scene.
Oh.
Tomatoes scene 32-1, take 5. Marker. And
action.
Look at this guy's mustache.
Just fine.
What can I get for you?
He's in this movie a lot
thirsty.
too.
I wonder if
Yeah.
I could drink.
Kind of thirsty. I'll tell you, when I'm thirsty, I go out and I get myself a Pepsi Cola.
Wow, a Pepsi Cola.
Yeah, you know, it's the choice of a new generation.
Clooney looks so weird.
I'm a little hungry too.
Kind of hungry, I'll tell you. Well, when I get a little hungry, I go out. I pick myself up a Nestle's Crunch Bar. Yeah, it
Scrunches
when it crunches.
Wow, I'd heard that. Yeah. But
is that a fake mustache?
You're dry.
Oh yeah.
You're parched. Yeah, you need a beer, huh?
I could use a beer.
A moose head.
A moose head.
I like how the guy at the mustache keeps looking at the camera.
Or a Foster.
Foster from the south.
Down under, huh? Good day, mate.
Hey, Ozer.
Hey, Matt. Hey, Chad. How about a credit? Yeah, I gotta talk to you now. Yeah, you need this.
That was all improv.
Oh my God, that was so funny. And then later throughout the movie, we get more of
we get more.
And I love that every time that it happens, like even when they're about to talk, that's when somebody puts the cornflakes in front of them.
That was, I think, the next scene, right? That was
it was like right after this.
Yeah. That was pretty funny.
And then later, another time, Chad comes home to talk to Matt, and he's doing something, and the whole scene, like it's like 2 minutes of them talking back and forth, one shot, and Clooney doesn't move, but he's perfectly holding the two products, so the labels are perfectly shown. So cool.
Yeah, no, very funny.
Especially that Steven said that he was in part of like calling around to the companies to like try to figure out like which ones wanted to be in on it.
I find it amazing that they did want to be in a movie like this. You know, like you would think they'd like, you know, hearing about the type of movie it is and what the first one was just a campy, like, why would you want to be associated with it? You know, like,
hey, $1,000 you can be in a scene. Some companies like, holy crap, that could be something.
I guess, but at the same time, they're like, no one's going to really look at this, or, you know, people are going to make fun of this movie, and the fact that we're stooping low to go in this, like, I don't know. I'm surprised.
I'm over Pepsi. God damn it. You're going to be in a Return of the Killer Tomatoes. Coke would never do that. Coke's in, well, I guess Pepsi in Back to the Future as well. So
you can't compare Back to the Future with this movie.
Oh, I know this one's superior. I understand that. But then we get the Omar Gaddafi joke that I played in the intro, and you get Wilbur going nuts, beating the crap out of him. And I love from that. What do you think happens? Oh, ninjas, cowboys, and bikers.
Okay, yeah. So first of all, so Gaddafi. First of all, did you see the sign for the Uncle Sam poster?
No. What did
it said? The poster was Uncle Sam, and it says, "Vigilance is the price of freedom. Report any suspicious vegetable activity." It was on the Uncle Sam poster. But yeah. I mean, like, first of all, I love the uncle. I think, you know, I thought he was very funny throughout the whole movie.
Yeah.
You know, but yes, the scene with this ninjas, cowboys, like, I did not understand what was going on. Like, what was the purpose of this scene? Was there filler? Was it just filler? Like,
I think it was just a spoof of like having the craziest fight that they could think of, like a barroom brawl, like.
But it was.
Ninja
what was it over? What was the fight over?
I don't know why those guys came in.
That's what I'm saying. But so there was no fight, like, because I think they the uncle realized who Gaddafi was after this. So like they're not even fighting anymore.
It was his friend that he served in the military with.
Right. So then what? Like I mean, again, it was funny, but like I really like what was the purpose of that whole fight scene? Like nothing. All right.
Oh my God. And then from there we get another great ad pitch. Really the rest of the movie, there's a lot of great ones that are thrown in, but Igor's driving the garbage truck and he randomly goes, H&R Block, they're the tax people.
He was funny. I liked Igor.
Yeah. No. And then this is the point that they noticed Igor is always around, like Chad, Matt figure it out. So then they follow him, and this is the part that he has no pants on. Yeah. He has no pants while he goes to get radioactive materials from like a junkyard.
I'm surprised. Well, yeah. Well, first of all, you also had the kid fishing that pulls out this like eel or monster, you know, skeleton. But
yeah,
Igor didn't really try to hide. His hiding was turning his back towards them. Yeah. Like, you know, I'm surprised it took them this long to realize that he was following them.
I know.
Because I mean,
they weren't paying attention.
One, he's driving a huge garbage truck. So that, you know, just happens to be everywhere they are.
Wait, not a normal garbage truck. One that had, it was almost like news, the logos. Yeah, a friggin' huge satellite on top of it. Yeah, and a news station logo. Yeah.
But yeah, so like, yeah, Igor's filling up this, I guess, toxic waste. And then you had this kid just fishing out of the blue. Such a Naked Gun kind of, you know, joke.
Just random. And then another Naked Gun airplane when Chad goes to the house and they follow Igor back and he perfectly walks up and there's a hole in the foundation perfect enough for him to see everything that's going on. So he's able to see within seconds how, you know, gangrene does everything.
Yeah. But he didn't put two and two together yet about his girlfriend.
He did not. And you did already, right? You definitely knew already?
At this point, I did. It took me 20 minutes into the movie, but yes, I did know. Wait, she was a tomato?
She was a tomato. Well, later in the movie, when they're tied up, when they're like put into that room, and he's like, "What if it's another vegetable, Matt?"
Wait,
and he's like, "What are you, some kind of zucchini?"
Wait, you mean the dungeon? That's just the basement, just like a boiler room. you
Put them
you
in
know
the
they had no
dungeon.
budget to make a dungeon.
Yeah, he's like, "We don't have a dungeon." He goes, "The spare room. I call it the dungeon."
Unbelievable.
Oh man! So this is the part. This is where everything changes, because this is when Tara leaves, because Chad sees that, he runs back. He tells Matt about it while Matt's watching the smorgasbord of sports, which during that, it's countries blowing each other's ships up. And this is when he's drinking a Foster's and holding it perfect in front of the camera.
But they were like pirate ships with cannons and like again, it made no sense. What
No.
I really was unsure what I was watching. Like every time they showed that, they kept going back to the same clips. It was like the English bombing these other ships, but then you had pirates here. Like I had no clue what he was watching.
It was like a weird spoof of Wide World of Sports, but they took it with like pirates blowing each other out.
See, I wish this movie in a theater. Like I wonder if it's in a theater. Okay, I mean, because I really like the jokes. I mean, like later on, there's a joke about China, which I was dying.
I
like,
love
it's like,
that one,
and that's that's a Naked Gun joke. Like this to me is up there with Naked Gun, like the original Naked Gun. Like these. Well,
is that a Naked Gun joke or is that a Muppet Babies joke? Because Gonzo used to open the Star Wars door.
It is a Muppets Baby. Well, Beetlejuice, same kind of thing.
Yeah, Muppet Babies before that, but
all right. But yes, it is
because the door, the China closet. Yes. China's in the closet.
You know what though? The way they were going, I was not expecting the Great Wall. I was thinking they were going to have a Chinese man sitting on the other side or something. Wearing one of those hats. That's what I thought.
That's pretty funny too. So yeah, the Chad walks in. Tara's eating the bland food and sharing with FT. Everybody starts screaming. Chad starts screaming, Tara starts screaming, then FT starts screaming all at the same time.
Now she was embarrassed, I get it, but do you think he was screaming because he found out that she was a tomato, or the fact that he slept with a tomato? Like what goes in your mind first? Like, are you like, it's almost like, Einhorn with Ace Ventura. Like the minute he figured it out, like he's such good. Like, do you think like, he was just like, that was like, what was the first thing that went through his head? Like, that
I banged a tomato.
Okay.
That
how do I explain this one? That kind of thing. Like,
your life would be over if it like in a town, even though she's a 13 on a scale of 10, like she's a smoke show. She's a tomato.
Yeah, but we're in the same universe as a hot Teen Wolf, right? We talked about this. So if you could find a wolf woman, a wolf woman, good looking, why can't you find a tomato good looking?
That's true. It's not like she looks at it. You couldn't tell she was a tomato. If she like turned into a tomato and then you're like, wow, she's a hot tomato. That's kind of weird. Like, but Teen Wolf does that with, when they turn into wolves, that's when women are attracted to them. It's the opposite. It's not like it's like this.
So
this.
Wait, so you're saying because if she started off as human and then turned into tomato and then like, but people like different, So I think so. If the tomato had a little wig and was able to run around, I think people would find it attractive.
Me. Like walking around like, and you're like, oh, look at that hot tomato.
Again, we're in the same universe as a hot gremlin. So,
Lady Gremlin.
Lady Gremlin. Well, hot gremlin.
Yeah. I have Lady Gremlin somewhere. I have a plush of Lady Gremlin.
Yeah, where in your bedroom?
Yes, of course. I sleep with her every night. And then so then when she runs away, Igor grabs her. FT somehow escapes. But I love like Chad's craziness because it reminds, again, Andrew McCarthy, not even in Mannequin, but in like Weekend at Bernie's, like how crazy he gets. In this, he goes, the girl of my dreams is a vegetable. And he's like, looks insane.
He does look insane. But okay, so I don't know if I think this gag happened already, or maybe it didn't happen yet. No, I think it happened already. Why does he have trouble getting out of the car?
I don't know.
He falls 2 times. I think it's when he's following Igor.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So he falls out of the car 2 times in a row. I meant to bring this up before. Why does he have trouble getting out of the car?
I don't know. Maybe it was a choice by him, like, oh, this would be really funny, and they kept it in or something. But no.
All right. I'm just saying. I wrote that down. And I forgot to go back to it. I just didn't understand. You know, because I did it twice, and it's like, all right.
Maybe to make us think maybe he's a tomato,
or he just so used to getting off the Vespa that he just not used to driving a car and getting out.
What if he was a tomato? What a turn!
That would have been a turn
if he was a tomato.
You know what? Well, and if in a horror twist, he was a tomato, but she became human, which she does, but he's still a tomato, and the roles were reversed, and then she leaves him. Because I'm not sleeping with a tomato.
I'm not sleeping. I do like the montage of them walking, and it's just really just sped up, because at the end of it, George Clooney grabs 2 pieces of celery and starts kissing them together.
See, this is where it kind of flips, where he's just like, he's so corny, like he's so over the top. The rest of the movie, like I feel like he's so it's just stupid.
But then from here on out, this is where they go back to the Italian guy. This is where he has a really bad, thick Italian accent. He says, "You better get out of here." When they're in the back room, we see like a million bajillion tomatoes. And this is when the drug tomato dealer, that guy, he's selling FT and a regular tomato. And then Chad catches wind of it. He runs and takes both of them, and they run away. So that would have been something if that tomato, we know the scene that happened, like when they did the different jukeboxes, but it would have been great if that was a specific person.
Rob
Lowe?
I
guess it wouldn't have set up that would have been great if that was Rob Lowe. Yeah.
That would have been good. But like, okay, so FT has legs and runs around the rest of the movie. Why is he just sitting there while the guy's trying to sell him? I mean, so FT is kind of useless. I mean, he's literally just like not moving or anything else.
No, he's
First
lazy.
of all, if he started kicking and moving, the guy would have freaked out.
Yeah.
And why isn't that guy afraid of tomatoes?
Nobody's. There's a lot of people that aren't afraid of tomatoes in this movie, but yeah, why would the Italian guy? I guess Italians because they're friends of tomatoes.
And what's the time difference between the first movie and the second movie? Because
I think they say 10 years.
Okay,
because
10
they
years.
said I was very young when the tomato wars happened.
Okay,
Yeah.
So where's this guy getting tomatoes from? If they banned tomatoes for 10 years,
who's growing them? Yeah,
who's growing them?
I guess drugs are the same thing. Drugs are banned. There's somebody doing black market tomato growing.
Yeah, but it seems like no one is has seen tomatoes in 10 years. No one's seen them.
Yeah.
So only this one guy has access to tomatoes. And is it only in this one town, or is it like around the world that there's tomatoes an issue?
Oh, that they're banned? Well, we know they're banned in America.
No, but was the attack of the killer tomatoes, did that take place in the whole world, or was it just in one town?
I think it was only in the United States, in San Diego, I guess, because that's where they filmed the first one. But
okay,
the Great Tomato War, to be called the Great Tomato War, I don't think you have to like take credit across the United States. It can't be in one small town and call it great.
Why? How about the fact that it's the only tomato war that's ever been? So why wouldn't it be great? It's not like it's like more than one tomato war.
What are you comparing it to? You have to compare it to something. I can't be like, oh my God, this is great pizza, and that was the first pizza I ever had, because I'm not comparing it to any other pizza.
So if you've never had pizza before, and you tried one, you said, oh, this is a great pizza. You can't say that.
I can't. I can say this is.
So
pizza.
you can't have an opinion on something that you just tried.
There's no comparison. There's nothing to compare.
What?
Because that's how you use adjectives. You can't say
someone that marries
the greatest movie ever if I never saw a movie.
So someone that marries their high school sweetheart, that's the only person they've ever dated. They can't say, this is my lovely wife, this is my great wife. No, you can't say that because you never dated anyone else.
They're frauds. If they said that on Wheel of Fortune, Pat Sajak would be like, get the hell out of here.
Right now, every wife that married their high school sweetheart is arguing with their husband right now.
Divorces are happening because of me. So here, I think this might be in the top. I would say it's in my top 5 spoof bits of all time now. Like nothing. I think it's really hard to beat the drinking problem, but the Frankenstein's mummy scene is so funny and was so greatly delivered by the actress playing Frankenstein's monster and Chad. It was just so great.
And you know, it's funny. When I started watching it at first, I'm like, what movie is this? Because that's the worst Dr. Frankenstein I've ever seen. Like I was so bad, and then I realized what was going on. But yeah, it's such a great gag. I mean, again, I think the rest of the movie has a lot of great gags. Like, it just like to me, like this movie takes place. There's 2 parts, right? You have the beginning, you know, but the second half of the movie with the 3 guys that are like, again, we haven't even got to the scuba guy yet, but like the 3 guys, like the rest of the movie I think was so funny. Like this is where it really takes off.
Oh, dude, when oh my God, it just it kills me when the Dr. Frankenstein's like, yeah, maybe if you knew somewhere that you could go, that there's a lab, and then he finally gets it. Well, you got that scene. Oh, all right. You know what? Never mind. I'm jumping ahead. Go ahead. No. Then really, the next part after this is kind of stuff we talked about. The Playboy cover model, Terry Weigel, when he has the toothbrush, because he's like, Matt, which again, when he goes in that room and he goes to grab Matt, did you realize that's the head of the bed that she was laying like across like where the pillows would be? I wasn't sure what they were going to find. Like, I wasn't sure what he was going to find under there. You know what? I'm trying to think of what I was trying to think of something funny that like you would find under there. It wasn't what I expected. Yeah. But yeah, I'm trying to think of what could have been funnier than that. And I just couldn't think. But yeah, I think it was funny that the fact that he held the Playboy up behind her while she recreated that photo was pretty funny. That was funny. Oh, you know what would have been funny? If it was a tomato under there. Rob Lowe was under there. No, but a tomato because he's trying to recreate the same relationship that the other guy has. So I think that would have been funny. And the fact that it doesn't turn into a girl. So he's just really with a tomato. He's just with a tomato. So then we get So or FT or FT. Oh, he was hanging out with FT, yeah. So then we get like the whole flip out by Anthony Stark when he's like, do we have enough money to finish the turkey yet? And then I love when John DeBello has like women around him and he seems like he has more money because he's not using it on the movie, he's using it for himself. But then when we cut to Gangrene, the drawing has a Pepsi sign on the front lawn now. And they do another great naked gun gag. They sneak into the house, and I love this. Where the hell are we supposed to? Are we supposed to look for a sign that says laboratory? That's right. And they use that gag twice, right? Isn't that how they found the 3 guys? Also find something like we were looking for a sign or something. Or I thought. Oh well, that's how they find the end of the movie. That's how they save the end of the movie. That's what I mean. Yeah. So they say they use that gag twice. Yeah. Yeah. Oh. Okay. So they go down there, and Chad thinks that the 5 seconds that he looked through that hole, he knows how to do everything. Yeah, and I love the first one he does. It like makes like a weird sound, and Matt's like, "Wait, I thought you said you knew how to do this." It was like, and I was wondering how long they're going to have that running gag of the different people coming up. Like, because it seemed like it was going for a while. To go even farther. So did I. I was hoping for like more people from that era, because the only person we really got that we knew, because it was like Carmen Miranda was the first one, and then we got Michael Jackson. We saw the really hot chick. We saw the one girl. We saw the Pope. Like the Pope. Yeah, the Pope. Don Johnson. The Pope. Oh Don Johnson. Well, that was. But was that a guy? It was a guy. It looked like a girl. Okay. It looked like a girl with short hair. Not for nothing. That's what they looked like back in the 80s. That is true, yeah. So, you know what? Again,
this joke, we've joked about this joke from the beginning of the movie, but it would have been funny if Rob Lowe was one of them.
He needed to be in this movie.
See, that cameo, that's the cameo. It should have happened. Like he didn't have to be in the movie yet, but the fact that they talked about Rob Lowe in the beginning, but as one of the tomatoes, that would have been funny.
Oh, or at the end of the movie, that would have been a great callback when they do that line. Like, remember all these things we set up in the first act?
Yep. Right.
And then Rob Lowe walks on and he's like, who won the date with me?
Yeah. That's funny.
Boom.
But yeah, so I guess this is where the uncle starts getting his team together.
Well, at this point, the uncle didn't get the team together yet because FT has to save them. So FT came with them into the house, which we didn't see that.
Right. Yeah, where was he? He's too big to be under a jet. So where was he?
He was like hiding on a bookshelf because when they walk in, Gangrene walks in and he first puts him in the dungeon, right? So this whole thing makes no sense.
Okay,
so
I know what you're going to say.
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
So why did he put him into the dungeon first, right?
Right.
And then why did he move him out of the dungeon into the 10-minute timer?
They didn't show that. And I was confused. Like, I feel like there was missing a scene. Like there was a scene cut because when they went back, they're already, And she was in the dungeon with them. Because they made an appointment. They said something where, now we got 3 of us all locked in a dungeon. And then the next scene, she's up there with them in the 10-minute thing. So like, there's definitely a deleted scene that didn't happen. So I was confused with that too. Yeah. I actually rewound the movie and I thought I missed something and I had to rewind it and I realized they didn't explain that.
Well, I'm glad that you did that because then you got to see the same thing because we heard a random sound coming from the corner and he's like, what if it's another vegetable? And then Matt's like, hey, you, zucchini. And it's her. And then she says, I thought you never wanted to see me again. And he said, I thought you were ketchup. Romantic comedy, man. That's what we get.
What does that mean? What does that mean? Like, I mean, like, first of all, the zucchini line is, to me, stupid. Like, I think it's just such a dumb line, but I thought you were ketchup. Is that his way of, like, making an excuse? Like, it makes
I thought you were dead? That's him saying, I thought you were dead?
But why would he think she's dead? Like,
because maybe she thought that Igor. Oh, I know why. Because what's his name took the tomato and said, "Oh yeah, you'll never see her again," and squeezes it. That's why.
Okay. All right.
He wasted the.
All right, then it makes sense. Then
that's probably why.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So remind me in that scene. So when they're in the back room with all those tomatoes, why did he think that one was her?
Because it was with FT.
Okay.
The drug dealer had both of them together, so he thought like, "Oh, this is a combo deal." So maybe they're together or something.
Okay.
But then wait, 3 of them are locked together. But who's left? The 4th Beatle, the Ringo, and it's FT, and he says hello. And then this is what makes no sense to me because we saw him walk a little bit with his little feet, but when to get down the stairs, he just jumps and rolls,
and he could barely get back up the stairs. Which I thought that was pretty fun. That, like, to me, like, that gag of him trying to, like, they wrote a note, which I'm not sure where they found a pen and to write the note
and how he held it. Where he hold the note?
Right. So, but they put a note on him, and then they wanted to escape to give the note to the uncle, and he goes up 3 stairs and falls back down.
Yeah,
like. That they should have figured out another way to get the uncle, and the fact that FT through the rest of the movie still trying to get up the stairs. See, I think
but that wouldn't be as crazy as we go from that.
That is true.
To what's happening next? Oh, FT is riding a quad.
Go to that.
How did he ride a quad?
Well, who? FT?
FT rides the quad.
What do you mean?
And you don't remember that part?
How did I miss that? Oh yeah. Oh no. Never mind. I'm thinking of
he
when
rides the quad and gets to the pizzeria.
I was thinking
and
when
he
gives
had the note to Wilbur.
Yeah, when he was sitting on Chad's head later on. So no, yeah. Well, maybe he does have hands, and he just like maybe it's like a turtle's head. Like his hands go inside his body, and then they come out when he needs them. Because he does a lot of things that I feel like you need hands for.
No, he does. Yes. Like hold the like steering wheel. Like,
yeah.
You have to hold the handlebars, right? But then I love another great gag is the one of Wilbur reading the letter, and he goes, every time he thought of something like, "You think I'm going to trust a tomato? I know exactly what you're thinking, Uncle Wilbur. Why should you trust a tomato? But you should." And then every question he had, it was answered in the next line. That was
very funny.
And his crew, you alluded to one of them before.
Is he supposed to be like Aquaman?
I don't know, but I loved it because he was reading Skin Diver magazine.
Yeah, I know. I wrote that. Yeah. I mean, and he doesn't have one line in the movie, I don't think.
Well, no, he has lines that are written on paper. Is he in SAG? That he is holding up signs of him speaking?
Oh, but he doesn't speak. Does that count? You know,
I don't know. But is the dog in SAG? Because the dog had a sign too.
But like he was kind of useless. Like, I mean, like, first of all, why is he running? Even when he's on land, he's still running around in flippers. Which,
dude, and Wilbur runs around with the parachute, which almost ruined everything for him at the end of the movie.
I was dying with that because, like, I kept questioning why the hell is he? He puts on his old, World War II outfit, whatever he's wearing, he has. Why is he running around with a parachute in the back of him, like running, and it's like flapping around everywhere? He trips on it multiple times. It's very funny, and I just kept questioning why.
Silly.
Yeah.
No, I know, because that's what he did at the end of the. I'm like, he's wearing the same outfit from the last movie.
He is, and why is Stanley dressed as a Lone Ranger?
Why? Yeah, and then he calls in the next scene. He calls FT Tonto.
Yeah. So, like, did they explain? Because I mean, they're old war buddies. So, like, why is he, Lone Ranger?
No. And and with the little pistols, and he has like little kid pistols, like that's what it looks like. And then we get like Gangry talks about like, because again, bad guys have to tell their plan when they're about to put the 10-minute timer. Every time. He goes, "I'm going to put all tomato people in important places in the government." And then his line, here it is. He says, "I made Tara for my needs. You wouldn't believe what she can do with 6 milk bottles and a tuning fork." Amazing.
And that, you know what? That's the creativity of this movie, that they have so many like gags or like lines that are thrown at you. You forget about them. And then they brought up later on in the movie. Like there's a purpose to every line they had. And that's the creative writing in it. Like, like she said it the first time you when she meets him and you're like, all right, it's a weird line, but okay, it's kind of weird, but funny. And then like, all right, you forgot about it. Like you didn't think about it the rest of the movie until he just said it. And you're like, So that's what makes it so creative. I mean, so many of those
great callbacks. Yeah. So many great callbacks throughout this whole movie. So then they're getting ready to storm the house. They don't know what to do. And then FT is the one that creates the distraction for them to get into the house. And then, dude, the uncle getting in there with like a minute to go. And then his own parachute is what's about to do him in.
Well, first of all, the time on that timer, like the first 5 minutes go down extremely fast, and then the rest of the time goes really slow. But the fact that, first of all, if you're a mad scientist, and he's obviously a super genius that he's able to create humans out of tomatoes.
Yeah,
you have a stop button for your big plan, like just one button.
Or you're not gonna pay off the ref that is somehow involved in this when you're able to call a timeout.
Or wouldn't you just? And that's not a Naked Gun gag. Like that was
time out. And it was good guys. I have it written down. Good guys versus bad guys, or something like that.
But wouldn't you send one of your Rambo people downstairs? Like guard it?
Well, they're chasing FT right now. They're all jumping over on top of each other to try to catch FT.
How fast?
FT is probably their brother.
He is their brother. So how? But they don't know that. But how fast?
Wait, you're trying to say all tomatoes are related?
They're not.
I don't know if they're all related.
They all look.
I'm
the
not
same.
related to you.
Wait! You're not related to me. What does that have to do with tomatoes?
Well, you're saying all tomatoes are related. So are you?
They are.
We're humans.
Okay, but do I look like you? I don't.
You think my tomato right here and your tomato in your fridge are brothers or cousins? 100%.
They look exactly alike.
Wow.
Now, there's different species of tomatoes. You have the plum tomatoes, you have the Jersey tomatoes, you have the steak tomatoes,
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say regular tomatoes. They're all brothers and sisters.
Brothers and sisters.
Is there a gender? Like, are there gender tomatoes?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Do they identify as a tomato?
There's probably a kid out there that identifies as a tomato.
I wouldn't doubt it.
So then so then again, barely saves the day. Thank God. Oh no, it was good guys versus the forces of evil on the scoreboard in the lair, which was pretty funny. But so then they're able to get out there just in time. At the prison we cut to, that's when we talked about earlier when he's placing all the tomatoes on the ground and he plays the tape recorder, and it's a song that changes tomatoes into like the dollar store Rambos. And one thing that was so great about John Astin in this role is how crazy he is, because he knows that like he wanted to kill these guys with the 10-minute timer, but when he sees them show up in the quads like at the prison, his reaction is not one of, oh my God, they escaped. It was like, oh, I knew they were going to come. He got like so excited to see the guys stopping it.
So he's a we discussed it as a genius, but he relies a lot on these dollar store Rambos who are really useless.
And they don't talk. They grunt.
They don't talk.
They
They clearly didn't stop anyone from entering the house, which they're guarding the house the entire movie, and it was very easy to get in the house. They die in 2 seconds at the end of the movie. So like, why does he keep making them? Like, he keeps relying on them. He's not that smart on that. Like, he has no common sense. He has science sense, but he doesn't have common sense.
He should use, here's the fruit he should have used: artichokes. Because they're like a pain in the ass to eat, and it's hard to get to that interior part of it. But when it comes to tomatoes, they bruise really easily.
That's why I said pineapple. They have a hard exterior.
Oh, that is true. You're right.
And
what he does in the next scene, we already talked about that he fell down the stairs when he couldn't walk, and the fact that he was on a quad. Okay, I'll give you that. But the fact that he was able to jump very fast and turn the lights off when there was that standoff between the good guys and bad guys, and when you heard the gunshots go off, I didn't know if you like die. It's like Freddy Krueger. You die in your dream, you die in real life. I would think if you die as a tomato turned into a Rambo, you die as a Rambo. Not that you turn back into a tomato.
Well, maybe you bleed tomato.
No, there was just tomatoes squashed on the ground.
Yeah, well, because they were demolished. They were mauled. So they were bleeding like, they turned to mush.
They turned back into tomatoes. There was no Rambos on the ground. It was just tomatoes. That's it.
Huh. All right.
That's all that happened.
So let me ask you this. Now we know, she's a tomato, and Chad, what if she had a baby? Would it be a human or a tomato? I mean, see, that's a funny gag. If look how cute, and it's a tomato with like a little bonnet.
Yeah, they're walking with a stroller. Oh, he has your eyes, and Chad's like, "Oh, thank you," and it's really just a tomato.
That would have been fun.
That'd been really funny. All right. So then, at this point, Tara gets thrown into a gas chamber, and then Igor is like, "Here's what I'm going to do, boss," and he just pulls the pin on the grenade. That's it, and then they get interrupted by a phone call.
And okay, Igor is a pretty big guy. He was a bit.
Yes.
He was useless. I mean,
again,
the scientist surrounded himself with useless people.
They never get good people. These big time henchmen, they're so.
Well, they cost a lot of money. They try to go on a budget, and that's what happens.
True.
You get what you pay for.
They cut corners, man. You got to get the good henchmen.
You do, but yes,
you got it.
So they get a phone call.
Dude, when it's that guy from the beginning of the movie, from the dollar a movie,
again, another throwback that you thought they were just passed on, like you forgot about. I totally forgot about those guys.
But you did remember right away, right? The secret word.
Oh, of course.
I was waiting when he said his first line.
Yeah.
And he didn't say the word "the." I'm like, oh. And then he kept speaking, and then he said "the." And then inside that room, somehow in the prison, the balloons and the confetti and everything was already set up.
Well, if they could somehow call a prison phone, I don't think, I'm assuming they knew that someone's going to be there to answer.
I love that they didn't answer right away and it just got awkward.
Well, that's what it was. There was silence and it just kept ringing.
Yeah.
At first I'm thinking it was like the governor or something that would, usually like when they're for like the gas chamber or whatever, they would have the governor that's give them a pardon. True. So I thought that was I had no idea who was going to be on the phone.
I thought it was gonna be another fourth wall breaking. I didn't even think about the beginning of the movie until
no, not at all.
Right away when you saw the guy, I'm like, holy shit!
Yeah.
I can't believe they did that.
Yeah,
God, that was so good. And then obviously like a ruckus is happening. Like, and who saves the day? FT dives on the tomato. Which again, this goes back to what is the fuzz? Is it Kevlar? Is it something? Is the fact that he is able to survive it and is just in rubble that is perfectly only placed in the corner of the room.
Yeah, I mean, clearly he's invincible at this point. I mean, but why?
The fuzz. Whatever the fuzz is, that's what he should be doing, not throwing him out. Gangrene should have kept him, studied him, and
he didn't know. He didn't know that he was like that.
Yeah.
But that's why it would be funny, if he turned a human, what would he turn into? Because he's
like Bigfoot. So stupid. Something hairy.
Yeesh.
A caveman.
Okay.
Like the Geico caveman.
Okay.
He kind of looked like, remember in the Bugs Bunny, the monster, the red monster?
That would have been funny. That would have been a good throwback. Yeah. I love that monster.
Yeah. Yeah, no, so funny. So then we get Tara when she's in the gas chamber. I love a weird sign. Pull this button so the gas chamber is able to be open, and it was like so long you could barely read it. But the exposition of her, because he was like shocked that she was alive. I thought the gas would kill you. She's like, I'm a tomato.
Wait, but before that though, it would remind me of Family Guy. How Family Guy will overdo. Like where Peter hits his knee and he's going,
yes.
And when you see her hand go up on the window and then come down, and then he's ready to cry, and then a hand comes back up again, and he's like, oh, and then he's ready to go. And they must have done it another 4 times.
But just the line when he's like, Gangrene explains it because she's like, I don't know, I'm a tomato, I shouldn't have died. And then he's like, oh no, I guess you're not because he played the song. Yeah. And she didn't change. And he's like, oh no, the gas turned you back into a human. And then she's like, so I'm a human forever now?
But wouldn't like if you do like a pesticide, wouldn't that destroy a tomato?
I would think so.
You would think so. Okay. All right.
The logic, this movie.
Well, there's definitely no logic in this movie. So
it just went to the bottom of the list right after that. But the end of the movie is awesome because we get so much product placement. We get everybody wearing Pepsi hats, and then they're selling fuzzy tomato plush toys.
Now, does this mean that no one's afraid of tomatoes anymore, or are they just like FT? Because he's not like a real tomato. Because you don't see any other tomatoes.
Just him. He's the only tomato.
And do you think other tomatoes hate him because he's, he's kind of going against them?
Yeah. They're jealous. They're very jealous of him. That guy's Italian tomato room is going to plot to kill FT. That'd be a good sequel. They all try to get together. But no, then the last part of this movie is they go, where's Matt? And then the guy goes, he's going to destroy the equipment. And then I think Wilbur's like, I always like that kid. Good head on his shoulders. And then we cut to him running the beach with all the babes. Because early in the movie, he questioned, he asked, just before he's getting thrown into a dungeon, he asked Igor, so would that thing work if I had a bunch of tomatoes to turn him into a bunch of women? And
that was pretty funny. That was pretty funny.
Bastard did it.
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
Woo! That was Return to the Killer Tomatoes.
Well, again, and I know I mentioned it before, but I absolutely love the fact that pizza dough fell back down.
Yes.
To me, that was the funniest throwback out of the whole movie, just because, again, like the way it happened in the beginning of the movie was almost like it could have been a mistake. Like it was just so like nonchalant and they cut it and it just like this didn't make sense. And the fact that they planned that, I absolutely loved. So
yeah, so true. So Return of the Killer Tomatoes,
wait,
Jamie.
Wait,
yes.
You also had the old lady. Did you fast forward?
His mom, John DeBella's mom.
And she goes, "Where you going?" She goes, "Don't you better sit here through the credits or whatever." I thought that was very funny.
Oh no, I love that. Yeah. I had that in the song that I was playing because I made my own version of that ending song. Yeah, she's like, "Yeah, you gotta don't turn it off. You gotta see who worked on my son's movie." I wonder if that was really his mom. That'd be pretty funny.
Was it his mom? I thought it.
Oh, I don't know. She had pretty good acting chops. The way she delivered the line, it didn't seem like somebody that didn't know what they were doing.
Right. All right. So absolutely. I found it very funny. This is like your excitement about this movie and the way you're talking about. This is like in top 5 sequel history for you, I think. Out of that we covered. Well, let's not get crazy.
Me personally.
No. I think it's maybe the top 5 that we both agree on, kind of thing. Well,
only 7 we agree on. So.
Like I said, there's so many clever jokes. This easily could have went south if they didn't have these clever jokes and they just tried to make a funny movie. And, to me, the throwbacks are what did it, and it just showed there's a lot of creativity behind it. We've seen movies that are so stupid that I hated, that just weren't funny. This movie, to me, I mean, I would watch it again. I would recommend it to someone to watch it because it had so many funny jokes, and it's a funny movie to watch with someone that's never seen it before, so you can see their reaction. That's how I feel. I would definitely recommend it.
Yeah, me too. No, so many funny jokes and like things that I'll always remember. Like I said, like that. I thought I saw this movie. I never really did because I always thought whenever I would see things about it, like Clooney was in it, I'm like, oh, I must have seen this before. I never did. I would have remembered like. Yeah, a lot of these jokes are like really, really.
Yeah, I agree. Like, and I saw the first one. I didn't see this. Like, I never saw this one, or the fact that they have 2 more, which is amazing.
Yeah, I just remember that. I always remember the original just because of the guy's name. The detective's name was what was it? Not Mason Dixon. It was like something in the South, like a name of like a city or something. Like, but
I got to be honest. I would consider watching the next one because I mean, if it's as funny as this one, I would give it a shot. Now, granted, I have a feeling it's going to probably be super dumb because they're going to Paris. So that kind of...
Is the next one Paris, yes. The one with John Witherspoon?
Well, that's what they said at the end of this movie. We'll see you in Paris.
They say that, but I thought that was in 2... I think they really did that in 2 movies.
Oh.
Because I think the next one, because it's John Witherspoon, which Steven talked about how funny John Witherspoon was, and he didn't really enjoy the guy who was the lead actor, who was the guy that was like in a bunch of stuff. He gave you like Joe Azuzu vibes, the guy from Empty Nest.
Oh yeah,
he kind of looked like him, but it wasn't him. But
all right,
yeah, maybe we'll have to do one of those in 2023. But next up, we're gonna start Halloween, man. We're not gonna go crazy and try to do 4 movies. He's way too much right now with baby Jack and having another kid. But we're starting off with a Linda Blair classic, I guess, sequel.
I don't know about classic.
Exorcist II. Man, this movie, I've never seen it. Nothing about it. We're covering it because we had, I think it's the first time ever, somebody emailed us about something, entomologist and like Hollywood Bug Wrangler, Steven Kutcher. He somehow went on a rabbit hole. He was like watching Teen Wolf on TV, Teen Wolf 2, because he did the scene that we talked about when we were talking about where do you buy fleas? Where would you buy fleas? And he got into this rabbit hole on YouTube, came across our review, watched it up until that part.
That's awesome.
Which is like 30 minutes into it. And then he emailed me and we went back and forth. And Brian Thompson, you know him, legendary bad guy. Friday Night Part 2, when I interviewed him way back when, he had great stories about Steven. He drove a Volkswagen Bug. And during our interview on video, if you want to watch the video of it, or I'm going to share clips of it, he actually brought a bug out for me.
I can't wait.
He mentioned in the beginning interview about having tarantulas, and I had to ask him. He brought out Rosie, and I'll never forget that spider's name.
So he's the Hollywood bug guy, but is he like Ace Ventura of bugs? Like, so he lives with bugs?
He has a garage area that's full of bugs.
Oh my goodness. That's
great
amazing.
story about David Lynch, like buying like a bunch of flies from him, like crazy things. He worked on Arachnophobia was the movie that like set him off. He worked on a lot of movies after Exorcist II in the 80s, but after Arachnophobia, he became the go-to Hollywood bug guy because how great that movie did with all the spiders and how it looked. But yeah, quite the character.
I can't wait.
So that'll be fun for that next week. And then Exorcist 2, which I think you can find anywhere. It's on like Tubi and stuff. But yeah, so don't forget to review, rate, share our podcast. Follow us on all social media at Sequels Only. And don't forget to check out our website, sequelsonly.com. Good night.
Good night.
Good night, guys.